All right, gang, back again today. So we've set up modeling, we've set up authentication, authorization, we've done some basic styling. Today, I want to look at a few things. The first thing being a service for creating a new project. So when we create a new project, we also want to create the sub project inside, which is like, so we've got the project, which is the address, and then we want the sub project, which would be the main dwelling. I want to automate that. I want to add the organization on there. So we'll do that all inside of a service, and let's jump in and see how we do it. All right, just a quick refresher. So we've got our little dashboard here with our projects. I'm just going to quickly update some of the styling. So inside of views, projects, we've got the project partial. I want to get rid of this progress because I don't think that's something we're going to use. This in progress stuff as well. I'm going to use here, I'm going to use an H4 and I'm going to put in the client name. I think is probably something more important there on a project. Get rid of this icon and refresh. There we go, a bit simpler, a bit cleaner. Awesome. Now what I want to do is I want to set up a service for when we create a new project. So I like to set up services, service objects to keep our controllers lighter and cleaner. And it's sometimes for things, we can't keep all this logic in a model. I feel like if you're touching different models and things, it can get a bit messy. So I like to just put in a services object. So I'll show you what that looks like. So inside of app, we're going to create a new folder called services, and that will be for projects. And in here, it'll be setup new project.rb. All right, so that's going to be a service here. And the reason I like to do this as well is I like to extract this logic, because if we create a new, let's say we create an API controller, we have duplicate logic now that we have to carry across. If we create versioned APIs like V1, V2, V3, and you want to have a service can remain, and you can change how the controllers behave. And you don't have to be copy pasting the whole time. So I've just grabbing this here. So inside of services projects, we've got a module projects, and then we've got setup new project, and you call it like this: projects, setup new project.new, pass in the params, and then call perform. I use the perform keyword here. Some people use call, so it's up to you. I like the word perform. It just, for me, the naming conventions live similar to the jobs where we do perform later, perform now. So I like to use that there. So, and then from there, I create a private block. So these are private methods. So from here, we can call different methods as we work through it. But for now, first piece is we want to pass in the project, and that's the params project, okay? I also want to have the current user is params current user, because I think that's important. If we want to query what organization they're from. All right, so that's those two things coming in. We can also do checks here, so we can raise errors if the objects don't match. I'll show you how to do that. To raise an error, throw an error when we're not supplied the right argument, looks like this. So we're going to raise an argument error, project not supplied, if there's no params project, so it's not actually supplied at all, or params project is not a project. So we're just checking that it's the right class there. We probably want to do the same thing for current user, because we need that in this instance here. So we're going to say if current user is not a user, we're going to raise. So then we have set these instance variables here, okay? And they're ready to be used. All right, so what are we doing first? So we want to set up here, we can say setup project. And so from this, we're going to pass in the new project. And the first thing is we want to assign the organization actually. So let's go here, def assign organization. Now you can pass in the variables here, which I generally like to do. Just for clarity, you can also, if you could just access the instance variables straight there by emitting this and then calling them like that. But I like to pass them in because I sometimes think it's a little bit easier to test. From here, we're going to say project.organization IDs is equal to, so the same logic here, and then we're just going to return project. All right, just like that. So that's the first thing. So the way we go here, we go project is equal to assign organization project current user, and then we get our project object back. Okay. Now from here, I also like to return like this. So I like to go success. So we give a success status, and then data is the project itself. So whenever I use a service object, I return an object success, which has a success method, a success param, true or false. So we can get that. And then if it's false, we supply errors. And if it's successful, we supply data. And data is the primary entity that we're working with. So in this case, it's a project. Okay. So that's our basic thing. So the first thing is we've assigned that. So now to refactor this, all we're going to do here is we're going to say result is equal to project setup new project, pass that in. We're going to pass in current user. We're going to pass in project, and then we're going to call perform on that. Now, if not result success, this is where we return. So we would render out an error here and return. So we'd have render new unprocessable entity. So just copying, it's basically this error block here that it's just using again. And here we're going to say result errors. All right, status unprocessable entity. Cool, so that's if we're not successful. Otherwise, we can assume that we are success. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to just say project is equal to result data. Okay. So it's a little bit more complicated than just doing it straight in the controller here, but this allows us to do a whole bunch of extra work that we need to do in here. And there are a whole different bunch of ways you can do this. You could do this in the model. You could have an assign organization. You could have project.assign organization. You could do the methods there wherever you want. I like this method. I feel like it's pretty clean. Some people don't like it, but I do. And I think it's quite flexible. And it kind of, as long as you keep this doing one thing, this service, it just does one job, it has one job, and this is setting up a new project. So let's keep working down here. So the other thing that I want to do is I want to set up the sub project, right? So, and we'll say set up default sub project. Now, the way that I'm thinking about this is that you'll have primary project is equal to, let's say, 33 Halls Road, right? And then you're going to have your sub project is going to be main dwelling, right? Because in a project, in like a building project, you could have a piece of land that has multiple sub projects in it, or you could just have the single project, which will be the main dwelling. And that will be the case for most projects. Changes to set up sub project here. All right, so the first thing, let's pass in the project here. Now we're going to say sub project equals project.new. And then we're going to just say title is, we're always going to default this to main dwelling. All right, we're going to say is master is false, and we're going to say parent. Is it parent ID that we're using? We're using in here. We're using parent project. So if we just say parent project is equal to project, and I'm going to sort that, and then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go project.sub projects. We're going to push that in there, and then we're going to return project. Okay. So again, project equals setup sub project project. So there we go. So now we should have a sub project set there. So let's give this a little spin in our Rails console and see what happens. All right. So let's in here. We're going to go Rails C. All right, so we're going to go project equals project.new, and we're just going to go title, new project. What are you saying? Yep, that's good. It's got a deprecation. So alias attribute with non-attribute targets will raise. Use alias method. When we did this last time, it didn't seem to work though. So let's just try fix this deprecation warning here. So in project, it says use alias method. I just feel like this didn't work. So let's just reload here. Yeah, undefined method project items. So that doesn't work. I'm not sure how to get rid of that. We'll look at that deeper later. Anyway, there we go, project. Now what we want to do is we're just going to go current user is equal to user.find. We want to use the user who is the builder. That's 3. All right, and now what we want to do is use call out method here. So we're going to say result equals projects, set up new project.new. We're going to pass in our project. Yep. We're going to pass in our current user is current user, and then .perform. All right, so we got our success. Let's look at our data here. So it's got the new project. Now if we look at .organization IDs, that's got the 1 there, that's great. And then if we go here and we go sub-projects, there we go, we've got the main dwelling. All right, so we can see that that's all there. You can see project ID is still nil. But if we go first .parent project, it's assigned to new project. So because it hasn't been committed yet, it hasn't got an ID, but you can see it has been referenced here. Set to new project, okay? So that's all good. So that's cool. So what else was it there that I needed to do? So let's have a quick look. So if we have a look at this project here, they've got the main project and then the secondary, the sub project of main dwelling. Now we have fixtures, fittings, and equipment, external finishes, and internal finishes. So that's almost like another section. So it's like a section in a project. So do we have that built in? We have project spaces. So that's like a kitchen. So realistically, I wonder how we handle this piece. That's a different piece there. And I wonder if we can maybe just tag that. It might be simpler. External finishes, yeah. So these are like little tags inside of the area. So the area, the space is the kitchen. And then we have these fixtures, external finishes and internal finishes of the same space. So the spaces will be different. So I can't imagine we have external. I wonder if we can think of an external finish as a space. That could be just external space. And then these are interior finishes. All right. We'll look at that. I think that's some sort of tag we can add on there. Okay, other than that, which is an unrelated issue, we have this setup project service. So for me, this feels cleaner than if we're doing this all in here. And it ends up basically just adding that bit of code there. And we now have this success here. So you can also sometimes, if you want to, you can create the commit within here, so the actual save. So if we were tracking something like activity, we could save the project inside of the service and then log activity saying like, Ken created a new project. But for now, we don't need that. We don't need clients. I'm just trying to think of anything else we need to set up in here before we move on. But I think we should be good. All right, so let's just go with that. And now let's test this out inside of our actual page and see if it all works. So we'll jump in here. Okay, let's add a new project. And this will be 4/16 Clark Street, Narrabeen. Now I'm gonna keep this guy open here, not Expo, here, clean that up and hit create. Projects, uninitialized constant projects, set of projects. Now I think that's because the services folder is not included. Let's just restart this guy and just make sure that is the case. Add new 416 Clark Street, Narrabeen. Nope, there we go. Just needed a restart of the server. All right, so you can see here project was successfully created. Now let's just check the DB and just make sure everything is there. So if we go reload just for sanity, so we're gonna go project equals project.find, and this is project 8. And then we're gonna go project.organization IDs 1, perfect. And then we're gonna say project.subprojects, main dwelling, project ID. So the master is, the parent project is 8, this is master, and there's main dwelling. All right. And you can see there it is, okay? All right, that's cool.